And we are live, Numbskull News live here with Professor Wild Ute, the enemy of all, as all Ute fans are. They're enemies to the Pac-12. They're enemies to the Big 12, the Big 10, the SEC, the ACC. They are equal opportunity haters and lovers, but just not, maybe not if you're a BYU fan. But we'll get to that. How you been doing, man?
I'm doing great. How you doing, Numbskull?
Oh, not bad. I know the Mafia,
Yeah.
was it college football Mafia now? I always want to say Big 12 Mafia, but I know it's expanded college football
The
Mafia.
rebrand. The rebrand.
Yeah. But y'all are damn near what, 5,000 subscribers now?
Yeah, we're only a few away from 5K, and I know that you're only a few away from 2K, right?
I'm getting there. I'm almost in the 1990s again, so
Nice.
that'll work. Let's see. Well, we already got some people up here in the comments. Let me go ahead and shout some of these folks out. And I appreciate everybody joining us. I'm never unappreciative. I just act like I don't appreciate it, but I actually do. Look at there. We got an OU Sooner with all the hate that I spread about Oklahoma. Hey, I appreciate you. What do I think about Auburn climbing now 9 national championships? It's going to be a rough road for Auburn. That's all I'm saying. I don't know if I believe. I don't know if I'm a big believer.
You got to take those championships now. Claiming all these championships that they hadn't claimed in the past. Like, what was it, today or yesterday? They said, hey, we've got 2 to 4 more championships that we're going to throw in our stadium. Guess what, guys? FYI, Utah has a claimed championship too. So I don't want to hear it from anybody and stuff. The Utes, 2008 national champions, according to one of the computer polls. So we can claim that as well if Auburn's going to do it.
Yeah. I mean, hell, UCF's got a claim.
Yeah.
So we can all claim whatever the hell we want. See, Jay Chapman, no SEC expansion without North Carolina. Well, we'll just forget you said that, Mr. Chapman. Auburn could claim 2003 Natty, but let's see. 04. Oh, you see how it gets confusing? Even Mr. Chapman gets confused with all that BS. That's why I love the playoffs. There is no confusion. All these people get in, and there's only one. No computers, no nothing else. Who's the last man standing? That's what I like.
Mm-hmm.
Be D-Don. I must be missing something. What brought on what the hell? Auburn. Oh, that I don't know, but they're one in a long line.
Once you lose, you need something positive to spin. And so just say, hey, we decided to add 4 more national championships. More banners to hang.
Yeah. So Auburn's claiming 9 now. So I guess they're a blue blood. We have to acknowledge them. Okay. All right. Well, let's go ahead and we got enough people in here. We can go ahead and get to some of this then. And I appreciate you there, Mr. Ute, for bringing this up.
Yep.
Let's see here. There we go. That way I can
summary of this real quick, Numbskull, because we've got a lot of people. So this list was put together last Friday in the Big Freaking Friday show, College Football Mafia. The idea here was just to see, hey, who's the realistic targets for Big 12? Like, everyone knows that Clemson and Florida State would be no-brainers. You do whatever it takes to get them, pay them basically whatever they want to get them in the Big 12. Us as a community over at College Football Mafia, we did not think that was realistic. So they were not on this list. If they were on this list, we would have a tier above must-have that would just say Florida State and Clemson.
Right.
That is what you need them. Like, absolutely do whatever it takes. But the language sometimes gets folks confused. Really simplify this down. You can have fun. It's a little whimsy and everything. But really just think of like must-have as like, tier S, tier 1. You're like, Sigma tier, primary targets, your A tier, high value fallbacks, your B, C, and then D, like 1 through 5 and stuff. So you don't want to read into it too much. I mean, some people are like trying to figure out like, well, what's strategic versus a fallback? Like, let's simplify this a lot more. It's 1 through 5. Are you a level 1 candidate or 5 candidate here?
Yeah. See, I actually thought y'all were pretty nice on some of this because I would have had a sixth one that just said never, just never had. Um, or, and that's not like I'm trying to kick everybody in the nuts, but just to be frank about it, there's some folks, like a Tulane, and it's not even, it's not even up to your mark or the presidents of the Big 12. ESPN and Fox ain't paying for Tulane. I mean, that's just, they're not paying for Oklahoma State, or sorry, Oregon State, Washington State. They're not paying for them. Everyone else has a chance on this board, I think, but Cal was weird to me, but I guess there's some value there. I know, surprisingly, their viewership is not the lowest in the ACC.
What's SMU's probably lower than Cal.
A lot
SMU's was
lower.
horrendous.
Yeah, I mean, coming out of the American, it's not surprising. They could turn that around. Dallas is a big place, but it's kind of, they've been dead for so long. They've been dead for a long time. So in college football terms, as far as local teams, it's been about TCU for a long time. And SMU, just after that death penalty, they just could not get up off the floor.
Yeah, 100%. And also just to speak to Tulane a little bit. So we were bouncing back and forth a week before the show on really who the 13 most likely candidates were. Memphis at one point made its way in, and then we're like, you know what? They've already been rejected with a $200 million offer. They're not even a last resort. They're nothing, right? They're just not even on the list anymore. So they got bounced. Boise State was in consideration. But really, Moan brought up a great point with Tulane. It's really market driven. Like, you're in Texas, can you get into Louisiana? That's the idea with Tulane. Really, it's a market play, a little bit of a football play. I knew they were going to score low and stuff, but they're a candidate that's probably a little bit more attractive than even like a Memphis at the end of the day, but they're not getting in the Big 12. They are a last resort. The only way they actually get in the Big 12 is if there is the trifurcation, right? Like the best of the rest, where your TCUs, your Utahs form something with the top ACC, and all of a sudden the Big 12 is a shell of itself. Then Tulane gets in, then Memphis gets in. All these schools that are strategic ads, last resorts, are all of a sudden very attractive in that situation, but not in the current landscape.
Yeah. And notice Stanford wasn't on the list. Y'all didn't. What did y'all think of Stanford?
So Stanford and Cal was discussed, and it was determined that Stanford would never stoop so low as going to the Big 12 conference in their own minds, right? Like,
Yeah.
Stanford and Cal, they're both elitist and everything, but Stanford itself, since they're private, they've got all this endowment, all the money. They wouldn't have to stoop like a Cal would in their own eyes to go to the Big 12, where Cal needs the money, right? It needs to be a conference affiliated and stuff. Stanford would just choose to go independent, or maybe try to swing Big 10 with no payouts or whatever they needed to do. We just didn't see any world where Stanford actually gets into the Big 12 conference. Also, Cal, the reason that they're last on this list is a cultural fit, numbskull. Like, it doesn't work. Like, I liked being in conference with Cal as a Ute fan. I love recruiting in California as a Ute fan too. Utes had a huge pipeline in California that's gone because of the Big 12 move. Cal would be a great ad from a Ute perspective, but a cultural perspective. Tell me how Cal, Berkeley, or a Stanford makes sense in alignment with the BYU in conference, with cultural alignment.
To me, as a Big 12 fan, I don't want any part of being in California with any of the teams. I mean, I might turn my nose up to USC, which is crazy, but I just don't. That's such a wackadoo state. I just don't. I think I want a part of it. The Big Ten eventually will feel that sting. Is all I'm saying. They're going to feel the sting of California eventually. I don't know how. It's going to be some political BS. Something's going to go on, and they're going to regret that a little bit. Now, USC and UCLA will bring in plenty of cash and everything, but they'll try to find a tax bill for the Big Ten. I'm just saying, they'll find a way to tax the Big Ten. They're working on it now. No. So I'm fine with y'all leaving Stanford on and having Cal on the very end. That works for me.
And then you look at like the Washington states and the Oregon states, and I recall I watched your live show with Rock and Rant 2 days ago, And the discussion about Oregon State and Washington State, how they basically are on the same tier. So Washington State's actually kind of fallen on harder times than Oregon State in the Pac-2 era. Oregon State's brand still held steady. There's advantages there. They've got some rich alum that might step in the future. Washington State kind of feels like they're just getting lost. Are the viewerships better for Oregon State? I mean, it just seems like the program is stronger right now at Oregon State than Wazoo. So I was making the argument for Oregon State to be more of a level 4 candidate, a strategic ad versus the last resort. Because I think if those two were choices, you'd go with Oregon State first, and plus the geographics. Oregon is closer to Big 12 country than Washington, slightly. So that's the reasoning, the logic for Oregon State and Wazoo.
Well, I mean, hold on. We just got some good news from the Monty Show. Utah to the ACC done deal. Sources can confirm. So I just want,
Got to break it.
I do not go against the Monty Show. I just wanted to make sure everyone knew Monty's paying attention to Utah. As far as Oregon State and Washington, I have nothing against these folks at all. I don't. I always feel like I'm crapping on them, but at the same time, everyone's kind of feeling bad for them and sorry for them, and I get it. Especially Oregon State. They have really invested in what they had going on until they got their legs cut out from underneath them. I get it, but that's kind of not the Big 12's problem, though. It's not our fault that happened. And as a Big 12 fan, call me crazy. If I had to pick between them or Boise State, I might take Boise State.
You're crazy. You are crazy.
I love Boise State, man. I love Boise.
Why would you make that move, though, Numbskull? Like, what would drive you to choose Boise State over?
Out of those 3 towns, Boise State's the biggest town. It's the one that has actually an actual legit airport. Like, you can actually fly into the legit airline. It's only one terminal, but hell, so is Eugene, Oregon. It's one terminal. They got a terminal. It's not a small regional airport. It's you could fly in from Dallas, from Atlanta, from Miami, from wherever. You could fly straight to Boise. That helps. The growth is exponential there, more so than the other two as far as locales go. And really, it's just a hop, skip, and a jump to Utah, to BYU, Arizona. It's not way. I know everyone's like, well, it's just a short drive to, what is that town that Washington State's in? That little bastard town?
Pullman.
That's a longer drive than people think from Boise State to Pullman. Look, it's right there on the map. Look, I'm a UPS driver. I get dispatchers all the time. Hey, it's just right there on the map. I'm like, you're an idiot. That's like 2 hours with traffic. What are you talking about right there? So when I read a map, I can pull up the topography. Pull up topography, people. Mountain roads are different than just here in the prairie. It's just the driving is insane. It's not that close. But I think with the airport and the market growth that they have, and I like the field. I don't know. I've always liked Boise State, and they're kicking butt. They're better right now than Oregon State and Washington State. I think they've been better than the last couple of years in either one of them. That's just the way I see it, and I just think I see them as having more growth and more potential than those two. And part of it is the location of Oregon State and Washington State. It sucks. I know it sucks. They've done a lot, and they get good viewership. But I think if you put Boise State in the Big 12, holy crap, I think they can get up there more so than Oregon State and Washington State. I don't know. That's just me. That's just my bias. It's probably based on BS, but it's kind of how I see it.
You bring good points to the table, like Oregon State. They actually get lumped in with the Portland DMA for like your TV market. Like I know not in Portland, but that's like it gets lumped in with Oregon State. They command the Portland market with the Oregon Ducks. and that market is considerably bigger than Boise, right? Boise's still like it's a high growth state, Idaho, but it's still a pretty small town.
Yeah.
Boise. So I think that like your advertisers, like your media folks, would want Oregon State over Boise State from a market standpoint. We know the markets don't mean nearly as much as they used to. We know that crystal clear. So you go back and look at the historical ratings. Oregon State's posted pretty good ratings, right? Historically. I mean, they're not posting over 1 million viewers or anything like that, but they're getting 500,000 to 750. A couple of years ago, they did get over 1 million. So they just have historically put up better numbers than Boise State, better conference. That could make sense. We'll see a lot when they're both in the Pac-12 in this new iteration, who commands more viewership. I would bet Oregon State because of the market, because of a larger fan base and a crazy fan base like Numbskull, like being in the Pac-12. Oregon State is the most Big 12 school out in the whole Pac-12. They're more Big 12-ish than Arizona, Arizona State, Colorado, or Utah. Oregon State is like the epitome of what Big 12 is, with diehard, passionate fan bases, crazy about football. Like they fit like a glove as far as culturally in the Big 12. Whereas Boise's academics aren't as good, again, smaller market. I don't know. To me, it's not really that close.
Yeah, but like that's a personal thing, like
Sure.
would ESPN and Fox want Boise State? No, they don't.
Right.
They want them in the Pac. That's where they want them. And I think Boise's going to take over the Pac. Once they get there, that's going to be their conference. They're going to kick some ass in that conference. Yeah, another thing I know me and Rock and Rant were talking about, we love Georgia Tech. And it's not really about where they are right now. It's the potential of Georgia Tech. And it's one of the things where I recognize there's something there that could be attractive for the Big Ten. I don't think the SEC. However, I don't think either one of those big two conferences are going to add teams for potential. They want people that are already set. They're already big brands. They're already big viewership, especially with the Big Ten and their media partners. They want more premium matchups because they got 3 big mouths to feed. And they're going to be paying more in the future, so they got to have that return on investment. Georgia Tech could get there, but they're not there yet. But as a Big 12 ad, that's great potential in Atlanta, which is, it's freaking huge. It's right there with Houston and DFW. And even though the market ain't, but like you said, that viewership Georgia Tech is getting is market driven. It's because they're in Atlanta. Because there are some hardcore fans there. It's mostly a Bulldog town. We all know that. But Georgia Tech has kind of carved in a niche for themselves. And if you look at the last 3 years, Georgia Tech has got the 4th highest viewership in the ACC. And I know a lot of that's driven from last year. But the years before that were better than, most of the other schools outside of your, typical big brands. So Georgia Tech has got some steady growth there. Their football team's good. It could get better. A lot of people are picking them to get to the conference championship game. They're a threat. They're a threat. So I don't know. I think there's a lot to like with Georgia Tech as far as the Big 12 is concerned. Enough to where I might move them up to a primary target just for me.
They're so unsexy, though. Numbskull. Like Georgia Tech.
Atlanta's sexy, though.
Huh?
Like a trip to Atlanta, that's sexy. That's a happening town.
I mean, like, I've been to Atlanta multiple times. I just don't see a lot of Georgia Tech stuff around there. I mean, they truly are not the premier school in Atlanta. Like the Bulldogs, Clemson, Bama, probably are bigger in that market than Georgia Tech. It's like they make a strong, compelling case on paper because you could say, you can make the argument for the Atlanta market. Academics are elite. They're AAU, I believe. So like they're checking a lot of nice boxes. Their basketball's been down for a long time. The football's growing. I mean, they haven't had a really seriously noteworthy player since like Megatron. I don't know, man.
Right.
Like they've got Haynes King right now and stuff, and they're just like they're so not sexy, but they're a strong paper tiger.
Yeah, like I said, it's all about the potential with them. And, I would argue, we added Arizona State based off of potential, based off of what they could be. And for one year, it worked out. Didn't work out in the viewership very much, but as you get successful, viewership comes, especially in a nice market that Arizona State's in with the population they have to draw from. When those people start knowing, hey, one of our schools is blowing up, people start paying attention, and you can start building on that. And that's kind of what I'm looking at with Georgia Tech. That's why I love UCF being here. Orlando, if a lot, and they've really outperformed as far as how new of a school that is. It's incredible, their story. But when they put it together, that's going to be a damn elite program. And I'm not saying the next Alabama. I'm just saying in the Big 12, they're going to be a serious player once they get up to speed. And, if they have the right coach. I don't know if Scott Frost is the guy or not. A lot of people, you ask Mr. Flugar, he might not have enough time for him.
Mm-hmm.
But we'll see. But I don't know. That's one of the reasons I love the Big 12. I love a story like Georgia Tech who can come in and really get, that has a lot of potential. And we have the resources. We have, what do you call it? Damn it. Basically, it's just an open conference. Anybody can win it. So Georgia Tech comes in.
Parity, man. Oh, gosh, Numbskull, the parity. That's the worst part about the Big 12. That's the worst part about the Big 12.
That's our engine, man. That's our fuel, or rocket fuel. Parity is great.
You know what? Had a lot of parity? The old Pac-12 and Utah was in it. You know what conference is no longer around because USC was paired with the same level as everybody else? The Pac-12. That's fine for cute little competitive Division 2-3 games, but you need a beast, man. You need a beast that's going to win playoff games if you want to be taken seriously, or else it's a cute little parody conference. I'm sick of hearing that parody stuff. We need ratings. We need brands. We need absolute bulldozers. I don't care if it's Utah, Texas Tech, or whoever. Just win football games, dominate everybody, start talking trash, and beat Alabama in the playoffs. We don't need parity anymore. That's the worst thing for this conference. The viewership, the losses and everything, the rankings, it's killing it, man. I think it's absolutely killing it.
I don't. I look at what the NFL has. I want what the NFL has. I don't think
if we were the SEC, that'd be fine. But we're basically talking. I equate this over to European soccer, right? You've got the Premier League. Put that up to the Big 10 and the SEC. League 2, League 3, the Champions League. The Big 12's the Champions League. Does anyone care about parity in the Champions League? No, they care about the two teams that are going to get up on the relegation and up promoted up to the Premier League and stuff. You need schools that are actually the brands. Somebody needs to develop if the Big 12's ever going to be strong. That's how I see it, at least.
Just the way everything's set up, you're never going to develop a blue blood out of any of these schools. It's all set up against them, every bit of it. The CFP set up against them. Brett Yarmark, none of the leadership knows that because they want the 5-11 model in the CFP, and that's designed to keep Big 12 ACC schools down, Tier 2 schools. Mm-hmm. That's not going to happen. To me, the parity is within the conference itself. That's what matters. You have to have the excitement. You have to have different brands come up every year. And it doesn't have to be, you can have Arizona State go on a 2 or 3 year run. That's great. But then, someone's going to have to take over from them, whether that's Texas Tech, Kansas State, Utah. But that's the thing. You can have worst to first here. You can't have that in the Big 10 and the SEC because they're built the traditional way to me. It's those big monster brands that's been around for 100 years that have been winning for 100 years. And I take nothing away from them. 100 years of results for Alabama, for Iowa State, for Michigan, for, Georgia more recently, but, Texas, Oklahoma, I get it, and they deserve the success they have and all that. They deserve the brand they have. I'm not taking anything away from them. But everything's been designed for them. The college football revolves around them. No one cares about these Big 12 schools. No one cares about ACC schools outside of Clemson, Florida State, and Miami. No one gives a damn. As far as football goes, the most important sport, no one cares. And forget about any other conference. I mean, just forget about them. So to me, the only way we can compete at all on a brand level is at the brand of the Big 12 itself. It has to be a unique brand. That's because there's no one else is going to have parity as far as in a power conference, but we can. And I understand what you're saying. You want to have a team or two that's a dominant team. But no one in this conference is going to out-recruit Alabama, ever. That ain't in the cards. Utah will never out-recruit Georgia. They'll never out-recruit Michigan. It's not in the cards. Those are two well-established pipelines to the NFL. And they got, look, I know we got billionaires that are helping out Big 12 teams. We got ours, but they got theirs too. And if you're talking about like Texas, ain't no one got more billionaires behind their school than Texas does. Nobody. I don't give a damn if it's Stanford and all their bullshit. Nah, Texas has got that damn money. You can't compete with them on the money. So, to me, we have to look at what we're doing.
Yeah, let's push this conversation a little bit further. Like, this is my perspective and why I say what I say is like I'm thinking of future media rights, okay, in that lens. And knowing why a game is selected as a primetime game is important, I think, for this type of conversation. Okay. Here are the three biggest drivers for like selection process, i.e. viewership, because like we know channel is driving viewership too. If you're on, ABC, you're going to get viewership no matter what. Like you're looking at number one is the brand, right? Like the brand is like, if Ohio State's even unranked, they're going to get good viewership. Brand is the number one, but number two is rankings and ranked on ranked matchups. And like the higher you're ranked, the better your viewership. And like in number three is your rivalries. So your brand, your ranking, ranked on ranked, and then rivalries are the three drivers in viewership. And to get compelling matchups on big time TV to get a better media rights value in the future. So when you're talking about parity and you're eating loss after loss, that's going to kill your second level there of ranked on ranked matchups. You're going to get number 20 versus unranked rather than number 6 versus number 10. And that just absolutely destroys you in the long run. That's why I think the way I think, because it just seems like it's cutting you down in the long run.
Well, the way we only have 1 year of this 16 team conglomerate we have right now. And out of that 1 year, we've had we had 3 schools that ended the year 10-2 before going to the postseason. And then we had one, maybe, I think Colorado was 9-3 and everybody else was 8-4 or below. So I don't have a problem with having 3 teams with 2 losses as our best teams. Because if you look at the SEC, that's what they had. Because really, they're kind of getting more parity in their league as well, just because of the guys like South Carolina, the guys like Missouri or Arkansas, they can start offering money now. So some of that talent isn't just pooling at the top, it's dripping down to the other teams as well. So that's the reason we're seeing kind of results that we have been out of the SEC, and someone going on an Alabama type run there, it's going to be next to impossible. The Big Ten, we're starting to see, Indiana came up. Illinois can do that this year. So it's everyone's going to be experiencing a little bit more parity. And that's actually great. To me, that's great for a conference. It may mean, okay, you don't have as many undefeated teams, if any. But how many of those do you see in the NFL? It's rare to see an undefeated regular season team. I can't remember the last one. I think it was a Tom Brady
Dolphins,
the Patriots.
Yeah, like the Brady's
team. As far as regular season,
Bowl, the helmet
yes,
catch.
Yeah, they lost the Super Bowl.
Yeah,
great job. But like I said, as far as an undefeated regular season team, it's going to be next to impossible to see that in the Big 12 just because of the parity. But I can say the same thing for the SEC. You probably won't see that much anymore. Same thing with Big 10. I don't think it's going to be hard for any given year to knock off Penn State and Ohio State the same year, or Michigan, or whoever's coming up. It's going to be hard to go through that schedule, even though the Big Ten's a little easier. It's a little bit easier, but no one can have more parity than the Big 12. And I think that's our brand. That needs to be our brand, is that all these schools have an equal shot. So all these fan bases can get activated. And that contributes to viewership. Colorado, that viewership was horrible. And then they got Dion. It's hype. It's just based off of Dion hype, but it worked. And so you need that kind of hype. Getting a fan base excited again, that's important. It's hard to be excited when you know it's going to be Texas or Alabama, or Texas and OU in the old Big 12. You know it's them too. It sucks. And it's one of the reasons why I was out.
Yeah, like we're coming from two different perspectives. It's very interesting you brought that up, because Texas and OU, that was like reality in the old Big 12. TCU was in that, and like you experienced that. But then on the flip side, like as a Utah fan, I was living in the old Pac-12 where there was parity, and I saw it hurt the conference. And so we kind of have two different perspectives when having this conversation too.
See, I don't think that,
thinking on it.
I don't think parity hurt the Pac-12 at all. I don't think that's what killed them. What killed them was just the economics of the landscape. I mean, once the SEC and the Big Ten got paid, all the other conferences are going to be screwed, because there wasn't going to be that kind of payday for everybody else. And then Texas and OU found that out, so that's why they left. USC found that out, that's why they left. And at that point, it's about politics and maneuvering. I don't think it had to do with their parity. I think Utah winning the Pac-12 a couple of years in a row, I thought that was great for the Pac-12. You know
who didn't love that? USC. And you know who was bitter and upset? USC, because they weren't getting unequal revenue sharing like they had before. So when Larry Scott came to the Pac-12, he instituted equal revenue sharing amongst all the schools after a ramp-up period for Utah. Before that time, USC was getting an unequal revenue distribution. And that's why they were so good and competitive in the old Pac-10. And so USC felt sullen and bitter about that. They saw their program declining and losing to programs like Utah. So they went and chased the money. But if the old Pac-12 would have said, hey, you know what, let's pay USC what they're worth, give them unequal revenue sharing, they would have never probably fallen as deep as they've fallen. And all of a sudden, things are different if they're getting to the playoffs. I mean, the Pac-12 didn't make the playoffs for like 5 or 6 years, the 14 playoff. It killed them. It absolutely destroyed the whole brand identity, and everyone thought it was just a soft league of parity that nobody really took seriously. And so that's my perspective. And I totally understand where you're coming from too, but I'm wondering if there's like a midpoint, where like, hey, it's nice to have competitive games, but you need to be still like somewhere. Like maybe that's a happy place to find where the Big 12 could end up.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Look, you do need a Texas Tech to spend all that money and then turn into something. Yeah. Even if it's only for a couple of years, turn into something. Win some playoff games. I agree with you. We need to win some playoff games. And I think Big 12 teams can do that. Can they do it every year? Probably not. And that's the reality of it. But we can sneak in there. We can be Cinderella and get something done. These teams can do that. Utah can do that. They can do it this year, possibly. I haven't picked them to do it, but they could.
Do it. Pick them. Do it, numbskull. Hey, I'll pick TCU if you pick Utah. Let's just do a swap.
Oh, man. I think I've already picked Baylor. See, I didn't even pick my own school.
I'll tell you what, TCU is like the one school in the Big 12 that's getting most slept on. What? Seriously. Like, it's this TCU. No one's given them any play. Hoover's coming back. Oh, man. Like, I think that there could be some special things brewing.
What scares me about them is their early road schedule. That first 6 or 7 games, like going on the road. I mean, I think they're on the road to Arizona State. I have to look it up again, but I know they open with on the road to UNC, which I'm not worried about. That we should be able to cakewalk their ass. I ain't worried about old man Winter and his young hoe over there. I'm not worried about any of that. But as far as, conference play, it's going to be rough for TCU. If the first 7 games, they can get out of there 6-1, which is going to be a tall order.
Yeah.
Then yeah, I'm all over TCU at that point. But you're asking a lot. But I mean, we'll see. Like I said, they got one of the better quarterbacks in the league. I hope that's enough, and I hope he turns into Joe Montana and not Joe Montana. So I wish we had Kansas's schedule this year. My God, that's just talk about a cakewalk. That's a nice schedule.
I think BYU's schedule is real soft too. It's not
Yeah,
just
it ain't bad.
KU. Yeah.
And really, I got BYU as a dark horse. I know you're going to hate to hear that, but they got a hell of a squad. They got a hell of a squad.
I mean, like, yeah, you're betting on a freshman quarterback delivering.
True.
I mean, that's really all your money's on that. If Bear Bachmeier is like really good, then you're nails. And if he's a normal freshman, then it might be a losing season.
But hell, you had Joel Klatt on his little prediction show. He had Ohio State getting back to the national title game. And I'm like, it's a whole new team. How can you put them there? I understand they could get there. They're Ohio State, but I'm not just throwing them there with an entire new squad, new quarterback, new everything. Hell no. Above Penn State? That's ridiculous. No, I don't. Illinois is going to be better than them. I know that's a hot take, but you know.
I mean, that's a real hot take right there.
Yeah, but I mean, good God. I mean, like the same thing with Alabama. It's a whole new squad. I know they got a bunch of killers, but you got to put it together. And I don't trust that coach in Alabama. I actually think Florida State can upset them game 1 on the road. Yeah,
so. That would be beautiful if Florida State got that done.
It's a little less likely since he wanted to crap talk them. He want to crap talk Alabama coming into your house. But it'll be beautiful if he crap talks them and beats them. Because, look, last year was the first year without Big Dog, right? Alabama coach. I'm horrible with freaking names. And I had the name written down.
Mr. Saban.
Saban. Well, yeah, I can't think of Saban. Yeah, but last year was it's the second year. So now we're kind of getting outside of his recruits a little bit. Just a touch. And look, I know DeBoer is good. I just don't know if he's in the right geographical location for his skill set. Well, I could be wrong. I could be dead wrong, but I don't know.
I agree, actually, with DeBoer. It just doesn't seem like it's a really good marriage, Like, it doesn't – there's something off with it. Maybe DeBoer is just not Southern enough. Maybe he's not hard enough. But, like, it just doesn't fit very well between
he's
those
damn
two.
Yankee. A damn Yankee. From Washington. We ain't got no Huskies down here.
Yeah, I think he needs to go back up north, somewhere. I mean, like, think about like DeBoer would be a great coach at Wisconsin. Wisconsin seems like a really good fit for someone like him, but Bama, yeah.
Even Nebraska. Nebraska would, he looks and sounds like a Big Ten coach. That's it.
Yes,
he needs to be.
He does.
Sideline with snow. You ain't getting no snow in Alabama. You're sweating in December. But I think the only other gripe I had about this list really was probably Miami. I don't know. It's a little bit of a pipe dream. I know if they're available, you're going to snatch them up. But then again, I kind of understand it because there's only one big conference they could possibly go to, and that's Big Ten. We've heard nothing. As Rock and Rant said, we've heard nothing since like 91 about the SEC. So it's 91. It's pretty safe to say it's Big Ten or bust for Miami. So I kind of get that.
Miami's an interesting one because you just nailed it. Like, what do they do if Florida State or Clemson UNC leaves? Like, yeah, obviously Big Ten's the first choice. You jump to the Big Ten. SEC just doesn't fit. There's no smoke around that, no talk around that. SEC's already in Florida. I can't see it happen. Not even like the Miami fan base, Miami Flow, Rocket Rent. No one sees that happen. Like there's just nothing there. And so it's like, where do they go? I'm telling you, Numbskull, like you're not going to like to hear this, guy. I got to tell you this, all right?
All right.
The best of wrestling is more viable than you think. Okay. I know that you love talking just Big 12 and everything, Utah, TCU, then Big 12, but this best of wrestling could hit in the right scenario. And Miami would definitely be wanting to be a part of something like that. And if that didn't happen, the fallback would be the Big 12. So you're looking at Big 10, a best of the rest scenario, Big 12, and staying in the ACC. Those four really the pathway for Miami. I think there's less than a 5% shot they end up in the Big 12, but I think there's less than 1% shot that FSU and Clemson end up in the Big 12. That's why they're not even on the list. But since there has been some discussion, at least, amongst other places, YouTube channels and stuff, just throwing from the seat of their pants, without thinking about anything, just saying Miami to the Big 12. Again, it's not likely at all, but if it ever came to fruition, they're the number one you go for.
Yeah, in my estimation, I think the Big Ten's going to act first when it comes to expansion, just because I think they have a bigger need than the SEC does. I think their media partners have a bigger need. And my hunch is the first move is Miami. It's not UNC, it's not UVA, it's not Duke. It's Miami because they offer everything that I hear about with UNC, but just on a greater level. You want to talk about market? Miami's got you beat. You want to talk about brand in football? Miami's definitely got them beat. Their AAU, all that shit. So everything that UNC offers to me, Miami offers more, especially to the media partners. However, I could see Miami come into the Big 12, though, because Notre Dame deciding to leave independence, which I don't think is going to happen, but it could. They could see the writing on the wall with these big brands leaving the ACC. And if at that point they're like, you know what, it's just going to be easier. Let's take door number one, all this cash from the Big Ten. Let's go. And at that point, it may not be Notre Dame and Miami. That's not automatic. If Notre Dame goes, they may be. What if they pick Clemson? What if it's Florida State? That's all I'm saying. And if the Big Ten gets Notre Dame, if Notre Dame goes, they're only going to go to 20. That's all they need. They will be flush with cash, flush with premium matchups, no problem. Miami could get left out, and the SEC, they're not going to Miami. They don't care. Hell, they'll stay at 16 before they go to Miami. So, and I know what you're saying with the best of the rest, but the biggest reason I don't think that is because they're talking to Smash Capital. Smash Capital isn't about trying to make another small conference. They want a big mega conference. So
I think, I'm just going to take that idea right there, kind of spin it a little bit different. I think Smash Capital and your private capital wants to be at the formation of a conference. And that could be a 16-team conference. So it's not a small conference. I mean, that's what I'm talking about, man.
But they're behind Project Rudy, though. Project Rudy isn't about 16. It's about 70 schools. That's what they want. They want a whole new giant league. That's what they want to build. So I can't see them saying, okay, let's take a few out of this conference. Let's take a few out of this conference and put them together. Smash them together, if you will.
That's the Smash Conference. That's what we're talking about here. Smash Capital.
I think if it's Smash Capital, to me, what's more likely is a full-on merger between the two.
There's too much dead weight. I'm going to be real honest with you and stuff. There's just too much dang dead weight. You got to eliminate it.
But in 70 teams, you can't tell me there's not dead weight at the bottom of that.
Well, yeah, there's a lot of dead weight.
Yeah, but that's what they want. That's what they want because they want all the content. They want to be able to take that that content and negotiate it all together. Because what they believe is if you negotiate all that together, then you get a lot more money because now you got everybody over a barrel. They have to deal with you.
Right.
So
you create like a monopoly kind of, right? Like with like the media rights, like the NFL,
yeah.
right?
So chances are it's neither one. I think they're trying to just, play nice, keep the Big 12 and the ACC interested in case they can change the minds of enough people within the Big 10 and the SEC. Because there are some people within certain schools in the Big 10 and the SEC that are interested in Project Rudy. They like the idea. The problem is it's not Ohio State, it's not Alabama, it's not Michigan, and it's not Georgia. Probably not Texas or OU either. And probably not Penn State. It's the Wisconsins, it's the Nebraskas, it's the Missouris, it's the Arkansas. It's those people that are interested. Yeah. Thus, it's probably not going to happen. Let's just keep it real. Only a handful of schools rule those conferences, and if you can't get them, if you can't get them, then you're probably screwed.
Let me ask you a question, like a hypothetical, right? Like I totally realize you don't see it happening. Let's just say the Smashed Capital works. Smashed Capital or another private capital firm gets and is at the formation of a best of the rest Super League of 16 to 20 of the best of the remaining ACC and Big 12 teams. Okay. I think that you need Florida State or Clemson to be a part of that to make it viable. Let's say one of them or both of them made it. And then you grab the most valuable remaining ACC and Big 12 schools and you smash them, right? You smash them, you got 16. What's the media payout look like for those schools? I'm just wondering, so we're talking about Big 12's got 33, the ACC's got 34, 35, the Big 10's going to have 80, the SEC's going to have 80 million per year in media rights distributions. What can the best of the rest command?
Best of the rest past all of that?
Best of the rest, 16 top ACC Big 12 brands together in a conference supported by private capital. What kind of deal could private capital work out for annual media rights for each school?
It's kind of the same problem the ACC has right now. Let's say that the ACC came up in 2030, the whole conference, and let's say there was no invites to the Big 10 or the SEC, because that's basically what you're asking. Yeah. Maybe clip off, Boston College, clip off, Wake Forest, and put Kansas, put Utah, put Colorado in there. So I get the best of the rest concept. Would it get what the Big 10 and the SEC do? No. Because at the end of the day, at most, you still only have 3 blue bloods in the whole thing. And that's Florida State, that's Clemson, that's Miami. That's all the blue bloods you have. You have, Utah is valuable. It gets over 1 million viewers per game every year like clockwork. You can count on it. BYU, you can count on that. But to most of college football, BYU is just icky. Ew, they wear the weird underwear and stuff. Whatever. But it's almost like why BYU fits in so well, because everyone else has the icky feeling about Oklahoma State. Oh, a bunch of rednecks in Stillwater. Texas Tech. Oh, they're out there in Lubbock where the birds fly upside down. All that kind of stuff. So we're kind of the outcast anyway. I see us as a tier 2 conference. And if those big schools are going to leave, because they don't want any part of a best of the rest. They want to be in the best. That's where FSU, that's where Clemson, that's where Miami want to be. And if they can get there, they're gone, which is the big problem with that best of the rest. Look at Oregon and Washington when the Pac-12 finally fell. A big reason they fell at the end was because Oregon and Washington was not going to sign up for an Apple deal at all. They weren't going to really sign up for any deal. Even if they took that 31.7 and left the Big 12 in the dust, they were going to go to the Big 10.
Right.
It was going to happen. That's why they weren't offered that much. After they pushed aside that original ESPN offer, that's why nothing else was offered, because their biggest brands were always going to leave. And everybody knew the Big 10 were eventually going to take them. If it wasn't right then, it was going to be 5-6 years down the road. They were going to take them eventually, because Oregon's too valuable. Washington's too valuable. Same thing with FSU. Same. That's why I hear, oh, nobody wants Florida State. I'm like, you're an idiot. You're just an idiot. They're too damn valuable. I would love them in the Big 12. That ain't happening. I would love Clemson in the Big 12. I mean, really, as a Big 12 fan, no, I wouldn't, because I don't have to go through Clemson every
unequal revenue sharing.
Yeah, there you go. That's the biggest reason. I don't know. That ain't going to work. But
so you think, just to kind of just state that back, so you think that Clemson and Florida State would rather, if they didn't have an invite today to the Power 2, the SEC or the Big Ten, they'd wait. They'd wait and wait and wait until that day came without committing to something else. Is that kind of what you're thinking?
I mean, to me, they don't have to wait long. They're going to get in before 2030.
But come on, Numbskull, let's play the hypothetical here. Say it doesn't happen. Let's go there. Let's go there. Push that.
It doesn't happen. Then they are forced to stay in the ACC and get that make everybody else poor as hell. Take all the money.
So say that I'm a Smash Capital, investor, and say I'm talking Florida State and Clemson, and they're making off this new media rights agreement, they're making $50 million a year in the brand initiative and everything else. And the gap still is like 80 million, 90 million for the SEC and the Big Ten. They can't get in there. They're frustrated. They want to bridge that even more. And I could get them a deal for 60 million a year. If they come to a new conference that's formed over a long lifespan, that's more stable, that has upside potential with different corporate sponsorships because of my relationships and the upside of that to possibly compete with the Power 2 one day. That's the compelling argument they're making.
What happens if the next Big 12 media rights deal is 60 million per? Which could, they've gotten that valuation before. And if you look at all the rights coming on market in the early 2030s, including the Big 12, and all the streamers getting involved, there's going to be a lot of competition for those rights. A lot of money being thrown around. I can absolutely see the Big 12 getting a big payday. If I'm Florida State and Clemson and I still can't get in, why am I staying in the ACC? Even with this unequal revenue share, when I can still make more in the Big 12. Now, maybe they don't. Maybe they just stay there because they know they're in the playoffs every year, beating the hell out of everybody who ain't got no money. But guess who leaves then? If I'm North Carolina State, if I'm Louisville, do I want to stay because I don't get the viewership, so I'm not getting the money, and now I'm falling down? It's hurting my program. I think I would rather go to the Big 12 at that point. And then there goes some of that money for the unequal revenue share. So, I mean, at that point, if they can't get into the Big 10 or SEC, which I can't believe that at all. It's not even in my thought process. But if we're going to hypothetical, they will ride that ACC train and milk every last dollar out of it. That's what they'll do. They'll find a way.
It's an understandable take, and like the best of the rest argument forms at that point, right? Like as an alternative, right?
Yeah,
that's where.
Well, the ACC then becomes a total dystopian hellhole where no one's got a shot at winning jack shit, unless it's Florida State or Clemson or Miami. That's it. Now, UNC they're gonna get ratings with old Belichick, so they'll get a nice fat payday out of that.
Unless you guys pound them week one, and then they'll send them down to ESPN Plus.
They'll watch them. They'll watch them just like they watched Dion, at least for 1 year. They want the freak show. They want to see that young nappy chick. I don't want to call her too many names. I don't know her, but that 24-year-old thing he's got floating around. They want to see. It's like Taylor Swift in the stands with the NFL. They want to see her somewhere, roaming the sideline or something in a box seat. They want to see her there. Over under is three different TV spots if she's at the game that they're gonna hit her. I can't remember her name.
Jordan?
I can't remember her.
Jordan?
What's that?
I think Jordan.
Jordan, there it is. You got it.
I've listened to your show before, and I know you call her the Gash.
Yeah.
Just call her the Gash.
Yeah. Jordan Gash. Yeah, over under is 3 times that, that ESPN or whomever puts the spotlight on her. That's what I think. But I just really, when it all comes down to it, I can't see a outside of a complete merger or super league. I can't see the ACC making it. Ultimately, I think their only destiny is a Pac-12 kind of destiny, where the lower brands who can't get into the top 3 conferences, they got to rebuild and do just like the Pac-12 is doing right now. Try to find a Memphis or a Tulane to be their Boise State and start over at about 10 million per. What's that?
Exactly. Yeah, 100%. 10, 15 million maybe, but like
Yeah.
a Pac-12 type of deal. They're kind of destined to turn into that type of conference with backfills with your USFs, your Memphis, your Tulanes likely and everything. So, yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be investing a lot in the ACC stock right now. Not for a long time. And it's just really what's going to happen with the 4 main schools with UNC, FSU, Clemson, even UVA. Like, what are we going to, where are these teams going to go? And like, that's going to dictate a lot with Big 12 realignment. And it probably will end up being 4 schools. I think that the ones that made most sense from the beginning that still kind of make a lot of sense for Big 12 expansion, maybe the most realistic of all, maybe the quad, like the core quad is like NC State, Louisville, Virginia Tech, and Georgia Tech. Like that's, It kind of seems like you're hitting all the geography, markets, brands, and everything that just is the ultimate maybe combo play for the Big 12 at the end of the day.
But I would also say, I'd also give a warning that just kind of be careful what we heard about the 4 corners before the 4 corners joined the Big 12. Ain't happening, ain't never happening. They'll go independent first. And I'm like, look, this is athletic conference. People are going to do what they have to do. They may not like it. We know Utah didn't like it. We know Arizona State didn't like it. But trust me, after a while, y'all are going to love being part of the Big 12. Some of y'all already do, but the coaches and the leadership will follow. They'll love being here. All right. Especially, I bet Arizona State, I bet they kind of like being in the Big 12 after a nice, successful year, a nice little run they had last year. I bet they like that. And I bet Utah, if they had the opportunity to get to the Big 12 title game and win it and get in the playoffs, I bet, hey, that felt pretty good. That felt pretty nice going through the gauntlet of the Big 12 and getting there. So,
do you know why Utah pushed back so much, like on the Big 12, and why like this from the Utah perspective? Do you kind of understand all the complexities with that?
I think too many people spent too much time in the Bay Area from Utah.
Yeah.
I think they got that negative rub from all that California water.
The wine and cheese.
Yeah, I think, that Napa Valley shit, it's sexy, it's attractive. Hey, I've been to San Francisco and the Bay Area many times. It is my favorite weather on earth. It is perpetually fall there. I love fall, especially being in Texas where you're 10 miles from the realm of hell as far as the temperature goes. So I understand it. I understand being, rubbing shoulders with those idiots in Stanford and Cal and, all this old money and all this. I get it. And then the thought of, falling back to the redneck conference does not exactly feel good. I get that. At least I think that's part of, as far as the leadership there in Utah. I think, some of the chancellors, maybe school president was like, oh my God, there's no prestige in that conference. I think that's, Pac-12 was dripping in prestige, and USC is a prestige institution. UCLA, prestige. Stanford, Cal, prestige out the butthole. I mean, they're making $10 million a year now, so I don't know how prestigious that is in the ACC. Some dumbasses flying across the country for all their road games. What is it, like 1,600 miles per trip or whatever it is? It's ridiculous. maybe 2000. I don't know. But
And plus, numbskull, like the Pac-12 is the one that gave the call up. I think that you're right about all that stuff, like the affiliation with the state of California. A lot of Utahns like California, and they like to have that kind of vibe of a California vibe. And so there's a lot of students that came from California to Utah, like just in the population, and recruiting was massive. And then like having like being in the Pac-12 South for a long time and having like a budding rivalry with USC was like a dream for Ute fans, especially like for me. Like I was at Utah during my undergrad and my grad school. Okay, so I was in my undergrad in the Mountain West. I was there with Urban Meyer actually
right.
and stuff, and that was an amazing experience. Utah was a Big 12 type school beforehand and stuff, and then when they got the invite to the Pac-12, it just lifted the university, it lifted the quality, the everything about the university, the teaching and everything else. It took it to a level that was shocking. When I went back to get my master's degree, I went back to like the Pac-12 era. It was a different school completely. Like, so Utah owed a lot to that affiliation with Stanford, Cal, and the California connection and all the money and the resources that came in. And then like, I mean, Utah was in a place where they didn't even like, I'll be honest, like they didn't even really want to play BYU anymore. BYU was an afterthought. USC was the game. BYU, no one from Utah even cared about playing BYU anymore. Like thought that was like left like in like the past, right? Like, hey, that was fine in the past, but like we're living in a new world now. And when that all flips on its head, USC leaves and everything, and you're like, wow, what just happened to us and stuff. Now we're looking at so much stuff that we thought like, we kind of graduated from, like with playing BYU, for example, and everything, and going back and not having any Western affiliation, not having the affiliation of like the elite schools and everything that lifted the school so much. That was all going down in the psyche deep down too. And then that started the Pac-12, Big 12 war with Utah and all like the Big 12 schools that caused more conflict and everything, and essentially became an acquisition. So it's no wonder that there's not like love necessarily between Big 12 and Utah. I don't think there ever will be love. Like maybe it can work, but like that's why. I mean, that's really fundamentally why. And we're here.
Well, there shouldn't be love. It's bad for the game. It's bad for the game. But I'll say this. What the Big 12 once was, if you talk about Texas, OU, Missouri, Northwestern, Colorado, what it was in the 90s, that was a pretty damn prestigious conference at one point.
Right.
And it didn't get picked apart. That's what people don't understand. People left. They wanted to get away from Texas. Number one. I mean, I'm sitting here in Big 12 country my whole life. And that's what the stories that were going around is that, and especially when that Longhorn Network got launched, that pissed a ton of people off. But what people understood, and I think what Utah fans are going to understand, is brands like USC, like Texas, like OU, they don't give a damn about anybody that's not on their direct level, especially athletically or prestige-wise, which it takes a long time to develop prestige. It takes 100 years to develop prestige. Not everybody gets, it takes a long time. That's why people give Notre Dame crap. And I'm like, dude, they still play Navy and Army and they don't have to. But understand, during World War II, Notre Dame was going to fail if it wasn't for Army and Navy. They bailed Notre Dame out once upon a time. They would not have a football team. They wouldn't have an athletic department if not for what, especially Navy, but Navy and Army, because they were the big dogs back then, way back in the day. They were the biggest dogs. They were the blue bloods back then. So what they did for Notre Dame never forgot. Trust me, Texas and OU and USC, a lot of these schools like that, they do forget. They don't care. And the thing is, USC never cared about Utah. You were never going to be on their level. With Stanford, you were never going to be on their level. You got in, they said, okay, you're worthy of a little attention or whatever, but they never cared. They were never loyal to y'all. Texas and OU and Oklahoma State have been a thing forever. Texas in Kansas, they've been friends forever. They always behind the scenes friendly. They left just didn't give a damn about Kansas.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, do you think they're going to pull for Kansas to get into the SEC? They don't care about Kansas, not for one damn minute. The thing is, there's with these blue bloods, there's no love for the lower guys. That's why you got to look out for yourself. That's why I'm such a Big 12 fan now, because we got a bunch of schools that were given the big middle finger by all these big brands. So I'm like, screw you. We have the kind of value. We have value. And just like with consolidation, how you want big brands playing each other, you want Texas and Alabama playing more often and all that. I get it. But the best of the rest conference is the Big 12. That's why
it might be.
That's why the best brands that were left in the ACC are going to get moved over to the Big 12. Because Virginia Tech, their viewership's been in the crapper for a while because they get bounced to the ACC network every year. 5 games of theirs last year, ACC network. So they don't have any exposure. If you put them in the Big 12, now they have exposure. Now they're playing West Virginia, playing Cincinnati again. They're playing, keep them a rivalry with Louisville. Have them playing Utah and TCU. It'll do a world of good for them. So you got the best Tier 2 brands playing each other. That's how you maximize Tier 2 value. It's not by getting their brains beat in every week in the SEC or the Big 10. It's by coming here and with Parity having a chance to win every single year. That's what all these teams need. There's my soliloquy. There's my on top of the soapbox.
Well, just add to that too. I mean, like if the Big 12 expands with the 4, we talked about like the 4 upper echelon ACC schools, then you could do a split too, more geographically. Like that makes more sense, right? Like so your TCUs are playing the Texas schools, your Oklahoma States, like your true peers and everything in market, near market. So Utah would be playing BYU, Arizona State. You can split that into pods, which would be really fun and pretty hotly contested too. If you get to 20 pods, make a lot of sense. 5-team pods.
Yeah, I'm the biggest fan of the Big 12 going to 24. I believe that. I believe 24 is the floor here. I think 20 is the ceiling for the big ones, but 24 for us. And yeah, I've done videos on pods. I love the idea of pods. Texas pod, Western pod, hell, a North Carolina pod. But, that's a story for another time. I don't have to make that same argument every time I jump on the internet. But yeah, I think there's going to be some ads to the Big 12 that people don't really see coming. I got a video. I got a video waiting. If that happens, I'm going to be dancing. I'm going to set this whole room on fire. Son of a bitch. But we'll see what happens.
If Carolina comes to the Big 12, you got to change your channel name.
Oh, I'm going to put a big USC sign back here. It's going to be USC Big 12. Big 12 colors. Welcome.
Oh my gosh, I hope it happens.
Oh, I hope it. Oh, you will see me go off for days and days. Anyway, man, I appreciate you being here, man. I appreciate you joining me.
For sure. And, thanks for having me on.
Oh, yeah. And hey, y'all do great work. And if y'all don't know anything about the Big 12 Mafia, if y'all haven't watched them, which most of these people, I believe, we have a lot of the same fans.
Sure.
But if you have it, go check it out. Don't be an idiot. These guys are great. They do great work. I love them. Anyway, thanks for being here, Ute. Thanks for everyone else being here. And bye. Hell yeah.